Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
What a long-ass baseball game. What a brutal baseball game. So many pitches in regards to how long it took and how many times I'm watching full counts and how many base runners I saw. It just felt like it was 8,000 years long. I mean, if you told me it was 2036 when the final out finally occurred, I would have believed you. But it's a lot easier to swallow that nonsense when you come out victorious and sweep the Brewers. Who's Burns? Okay, who's Corbin Burns? I'm not afraid. Wow, that second inning, talk about grinding at bats. There were a couple key moments that really stand out to me in this game, and two of them really do date back to those early stages, which was that second inning. I cannot get over. After 1, 2, 3, a couple strikeouts, the top of the order, Kyle Schwarber strikes out. Rhys Hoskins strikes out. Bryce Harper strikes out. Your top dogs are swinging and missing. And you thought, uh-oh, it might be one of those days. Okay, luckily you took the first two because they have a stud on the bump. You work. You grind. Now, the disappointing thing was you only got one run out of it. Bryson Stott grounds out the shortstop. He hustles down the first base side, so it's not a double play, and that scores a run. You would have loved to maybe tack on a couple more, so it's 3-1, and this is after you lose the lead, right? Or you didn't really lose the lead, but you were tied, and here goes Zach Eflin. Bang, the ball gets rocked. He's also hitting people, too. He's throwing pitches. It's hitting guys. So he just looked at a whack, at a sink early on, and you go, oh, what's happening here? That second inning, I truly believe, changed the trajectory. Not only did they work really hard in that batter's box and force Corbin to throw so many damn pitches, which then eventually got them into their bullpen way earlier than they would have expected to. How about when the Phillies were in the field and Zach Eflin makes an incredible play as he's charging the ball in a little dinky how do you do, and he makes an excellent throw to first base, getting off of the mound, gets the ball, nice easy throw. Now, what happened after that, a ton of base runners, and they squeezed out of that without allowing a run. If Zach Eflin did not make that play, now the score is different. Now it could change the whole entire feel of the game because the Brewers, they do a little bit more damage. They score a couple more runs instead of it being this toxic, brutal, long 1-1 tie and this battle and this super tough, realistically awful, slow pace of baseball. Instead of that being the case, with it being tied, if the Brewers have a couple run lead, it could absolutely just get everybody out of sorts, and it can change the energy because of how brutally slow the entire game went. So I thought that was really, really important, on top of when the Phillies did have a 3-1 lead after that Didi Gregorius check swing that's tacked on another run. Bryce Harper goes yard after Connor Brogdon allows a first pitch swinging bomb. 3-2, 4-2. Those are two totally different scores when you think about what this Phillies team has gone through to this point of the season. So 7-game win streak. Rob Thomson does not know how to lose baseball games. And there were other things that matter too. JT Realmuto on a bunt goes to second base, gets the lead runner. That matters. JT Realmuto, sack fly. Sometimes it's just the little things. Sometimes it's all about the small details of the game. Getting a run across the board. And then, of course, they just blew it open when Kyle Schwarber goes long, Odubel Herrera into the second deck. And, you start talking about some of these players being motivated. For example, Didi Gregorius. Not only does he seem healthy, and not only is he using the entire field, which is exciting, he gets the triple. Now, unfortunately, nobody knocked him in. That bottom half of the lineup, it's not easy. And you're not going to be able to rely on all those young kids forever. Sometimes they are going to fail. That's part of the growing process. They did have a pretty weak attempt there after Didi gets that triple, and you think, okay, inevitably, you're at least going to score a run, and somehow, some way, he stays on third base when it's all said and done. So that's unacceptable, although you kind of have to acknowledge when you play the young guns, that's going to be a part of the equation. They won't come up large every time the bottom of the lineup is there. It has had some exciting moments, and that's why players like Kyle Schwarber has been able to knock in some runs, because there's players on base for when the lineup gets turned over. But that happened, and when Didi's out there, it seems to not only be him utilizing all the field and him being healthy, but there's a lot of noise right now about some of these kids, and Bryson Stott with Gene Segura out right now. There's this open door allowing both of them to play, but you have to execute. You have to do well, or you are going to lose your job. And the reason why I bring this up is because, Odubel Herrera, for example, it looks like we're getting that spark and that hot run of Odubel Herrera. What does that mean for Mickey Moniak in and out of the lineup with the way Rob Thomson has clearly made it very noticeable that he is going to allow the kids to play, but it's somewhat of an internal battle right now, in a good way, though. It's pushing each other to play your best brand of baseball. It's a healthy, competitive fire to try and stay on the field when you have a ton of options, which is a great thing to have, by the way. It means, you can go to a lot of different people, and then if they, do need to come up when someone goes down, or if it's just their day because someone needs a day off, the fact that you do have some realistic guys to point to and to slot in there, it goes a long way. Now, I mentioned JT throwing down to second base when Connor Brogdon was on the mound to get the lead runner for a bunt, and I also mentioned the sac fly. Well, JT Realmuto in the lineup in an afternoon game instead of Stubbs? I'm sure this weekend against the Diamondbacks, you got the 4 o'clock on Saturday, the 1 o'clock on Sunday, your traditional late game, 7 o'clock on Friday. So it's your basic weekend schedule. You're probably going to see him take a day off or so. But, just saying that Rob Thomson spoke to JT Realmuto, got into a little bit of a conversation about what do you think and what are you feeling? And then, what do you know? I mean, the guy has an RBI in the game. That was massive to help take the lead. And then, of course, he had a good play defensively, too, which goes a long way. And Stubbs has been playing good when he's had his numbers called, so I'm not acting as if he couldn't have done anything. It's just something to point out, which is managerial decisions and how that would differ from the way Joe Girardi handled things. And if I had to bet $1 billion that Garrett Stubbs would have played today, which would have been fine, I would get it, right? There's an argument to be made that this is a afternoon game, final game of a series. You're on the road. You go to your backup catcher to kind of let him get some reps and some at-bats too, because as much as we want to play all of our best guys, if there was to be a bench player that you eventually need on a given day, if they sit for 2 weeks, if they sit for a week and a half, if they never see time whatsoever, how are they supposed to stay active? It's the same exact argument when Bryson Stott was hitting 150 and Mickey Moniak was getting overwhelmed. The argument was, how would these guys ever find themselves if you're never giving them the chance to establish something? That's different than a backup catcher, but they got to play at some point is kind of what I'm bringing up. I have no problem with what the Phillies did, and I have no problems if they went with the alternative, because both make sense to me. I'm really just highlighting it and bringing it up as a, just as a talking point of something that was different from our past regime that we saw today. But yeah, I mean, it was super incredible to think about when this team did take the game out and took it for a nice little ride there to expand the lead. Kyle Schwarber ends up getting on base after he strikes out, but still gets to first because the ball goes towards the backstop, which allowed Rhys Hoskins to get a hit. He got boned. It was the fourth ball, but they ended up calling it a strike. And you go, oh, come on, Rhys, let's go. Power through this adversity. Make sure you still get on. He ends up slapping a single. Now, Bryce Harper's up to the dish. He gets robbed over to the right side there, and it's like, damn, man, who knows what could have happened there. Castellanos gets a hit, and then it kind of just had a little bit of noise from there to take the lead as a squad with some unique ways, right? I mean, a sac fly isn't extremely unique, but the Didi Gregorius little check down the left field line there. Hey, when you have the momentum that the Phillies have, those type of things work out for you. You get lucky. Sometimes you need luck. Sometimes it's just, hey, Putting the ball in play, good things happen. Not that he tried to put the ball in play there. He didn't try to put the ball in play. When you win 7 in a row, though, things like this happen. Whether you get some bad defense on the other team that drops a ball and somehow you score 2 runs out of it, or whatever the case is. Guys are getting walked all over the place. And I was surprised to see Burns struggle as much as he did. But we talked about the length and the depth of this lineup, and that played a role. I can't get over that second inning. I was so thrilled and honored. Now, it's kind of ironic because by the end, I'm questioning what am I doing with my life to be sitting through that long baseball game. And as much as there's no such thing as baseball that I don't want to sit down and watch, towards the end, I had a migraine. I had a headache. I could not believe it was still going on with all of those pitches being thrown. So even I was burned out. And I can only imagine if I was feeling that type of way, how 98% of the world who was actually tuning into that baseball game felt, because I'm probably the last one to burn out that way. But that was a grind, and I really don't ever want to do that again. Thank the Lord that was a 2 o'clock game, a 2:10 game. If that was a 7 o'clock game, things probably would have been different, to be fair. And I think we can all acknowledge that, right? Woof. But going back to that second inning, while it was going down, I was in amazement. Talk about working the at-bats, and Bryson Stott's up there, and he puts the ball in play. He takes a pitch on the outside part of the plate, goes the other way with it, hustles down that first base side, scores the run to tie it. Not sexy, not amazing, not incredible, but sometimes you just got to do things that is, what's the best way to put it? What's the best way to describe it? It's just meat and potatoes. It's like in hockey, your fourth line grind. Sometimes your fourth liner, they dump it in the corner, they go forecheck, they win a puck battle along the wall, and then maybe 3 seconds later or 3 steps later, it goes from one corner to the next corner, it goes up high to your defenseman, you go D to D, you walk the blue line, you throw a puck on net, it hits off a shin pad, it goes in. You got to remember whoever dumped it in the corner and won a puck battle and won a race to the corner, even though that was about 4 steps ago, that plays such a big role. It's sort of like that. It's not anything that's flashy. It's not anything that's amazing, but you just put the ball in play. You poke it the other way. You're making Burns throw so many damn pitches, get to their bullpen. Not that it matters even if they go to their heavy dogs, because we've already seen in this series that when you did go to your top bullpen pieces, it didn't matter. Alec Boehm came up, okay? Alec Boehm did not have a good day at the office at the plate today. But at that time, though, earlier in the series, it was magnificent to see him and Matt Vierling hit those bombs. That changed the entire series. I think the Brewers are still in shock. They're still in disbelief. In what universe did we lose that game? Now, speaking of managerial decisions with Rob Thomson, let's go to the back end of the bullpen decisions. Sir Anthony Dominguez in the 7th would have possibly went with Brad Hand. They were talking about matchups, and if it was Yelich compared to Adames, and of course lefty-righty, that matters. But Brad Hand, different role. Sir Anthony, a lot of fans want Sir Anthony Dominguez to be in the 9th spot. He somehow gets slotted into the 7th spot. Brad Hand, experienced guy, having a nice season to this point. Maybe going with that 8th, and then Corey Knebel in the 9th if they needed it. Of course, the score made you change, and you had to look in another direction, so you didn't even have to go to your late relievers once it went to the 8th and the 9th. But something that we want to know, how is Rob going to manage this bullpen? And just like I said earlier about JT being in the lineup compared to Stubbs being in the lineup, I don't care. I don't care right now. You want to put Brad Hand at the 7th, Sir Anthony at the 8th, Knebel in the 9th? Okay. You want to put Knebel in the 8th, Sir Anthony in the 9th, Brad Hand in the 7th? Okay. Any combination of those 3 right now, I could understand the logic behind it. So I have no issues with any path you take, Rob, because those 3 right now, I like what Sir Anthony's doing. 99 miles per hour, blowing it by, guys. I like what Brad Hand has done. Kind of been quiet. Inherited some runner stuff early on. That was somewhat of the dialogue about him, but he's a veteran, been around the block, has seen late games before. Okay, let's see what you have. Feeling smooth right now? Okay. And then Knebel, he was brought in here to do a job. You need him. So you're going to have to still throw him into the fire. He just needs to do better. He just has to execute. Same with Brogdon. I told you all, we need Brogdon. We need him. If you want to continue to win baseball games, you need him. But it is interesting because if you remember the debate right around Joe Girardi's firing and departure, we need a new bullpen. We need this and the defense. Nope. Your offense has to wake up. If your offense wakes up with the way this team was constructed, not every team. In a perfect world, of course I want an elite bullpen. Of course I want elite defense. With the way this team was constructed, when the identity of the brand that you brought in here starts doing what they're expected to do, everything else falls into place. There will be blown saves. There will be missed opportunities and bad defense and all that. When you rake, it's not a one-run game in the ninth. It's now a multiple-run game in the ninth. Ow, I just hit my elbow. But instead of a 3-2 game, it's a 5-2 game. Instead of a 4-3 game, it's a 6-3 game. Instead of a 1-0 game, it's a 6-0 game. When your offense gets going, when Kyle Schwarber gets to June, when Bryce Harper does dirty things with a UCL tear, when Didi Gregorius is healthy, when Bryson Stott explodes, when all of this is real, when Rhys Hoskins is hitting an opposite field bomb, when Odubel Herrera is hitting home runs, second deck, crushing it, everything else falls into place. That's how this team was supposed to win games. That's what needed to happen for them to be better. That's what needed to happen. Well, they had the lead in all these games. I got you. When the offense creates what this offense was supposed to create, everything else falls into place. That's why we are seeing what we are seeing right now. 856-442-9805. That's the phone number to hop on board. I would love to hear from you right now on what you saw. Before we get to the phones, though, let me introduce to you Freestone Farm CBD. It's my favorite CBD brand because they farm it themselves with all organic input, and they offer only the highest quality genetics in their strains and extracts. I've tried a lot of different brands, but honestly, Freestone Farm CBD has been amazing for me, and I personally love using it before working out and after working out and before going to bed at night. What's incredible about this? Their tasting Bayox, their tropical tasting Bayox, clocks in at 24.1% CBD. Absolutely nothing synthetic from farm to jar. You can utilize promo code BROADS at checkout at FreestoneFarmCBD.com. The link is down below in the description. Okay, we will start things off. 856-442-9805. We will start things off on the Anytime Hotline. Good evening. Welcome. How are you feeling right now after that Phillies sweep of Milwaukee?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's a little windy or something.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm outside, but I'll try and make this work.
Okay.
So first of all, I just wanted to say congratulations on 20,000. That's awesome, man.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Super, super cool. All right, but I wrote down a good amount of notes here. So first off, on the bullpen, 8 innings pitched in the series, 2 earned runs with a 2.25 ERA, 10 strikeouts, 3 walks, 8 hits, an opponent batting average of 154, a 1.3 whip, and only 1 long ball. Which is absolutely amazing. And then you got the offense. You got the Milwaukee Brewers bullpen, which they said was absolutely insane. 21 runs in the season, 14 out of 21 of those runs were on the bullpen, which is 67%. So that is a productive series and a sweep. It felt so good driving around my town, windows down, volume at max in my car, playing the Phillies win bell. It was awesome.
All right, baby. I love it. I agree with you. It was awesome. It was outstanding. It was absolutely outstanding. How about that for some numbers? Now, I'm not going to fact check those numbers, so we'll take it for what it is. But guess what? At the end of the day, we know it was beautiful. We knew it was outstanding. We knew it was tremendous what they were doing, and it was enjoyable to see it happen so consistently. It was every single night you saw it work from the night before. That's called momentum. 7 games in a row, and okay, I don't want to sound too repetitive here. Look what's coming up on the schedule. This is a lot different than playing the Dodgers. It's a lot different than playing the Mets. It's a lot different than seeing San Diego. It's a lot different than seeing a lot of these teams that you saw early on. And this is a good Milwaukee team, by the way. Leading their division, they're 33-26 now, but they were 33-23 entering the 3-game set. You have Arizona, you have Miami, and then Washington, if I remember correctly. That is correct. Arizona at home, Miami at home, the Washington Nationals. Holy hell. Hold on a second. Am I seeing this right? They played the Nationals Thursday, June 16th. They played 2 games on Friday, June 17th. Saturday, they play them at 4:30. Sunday at noon, they play them as well. So it's a 5-game series. That's a lot of baseball against one team in a very short amount of time. Not that I'm getting ahead of myself. I just want to show you that early on when we talked about the teams that you'd be seeing compared to the teams that you saw. At the same time, though, there was truth to the team stunk. The Phillies stunk in the early stages. Just as much as they were playing tougher opponents and they were playing better rosters and they were playing teams that are at the top of their division for a reason, the Phillies also were playing a horrific style of baseball. Both were true. Now what seems to be happening is exactly what I just mentioned, but flipping it around, and now it's a 180. Both is true. They're playing horrendous baseball teams, but they are playing fantastic baseball. Both can be true. So they sucked, and they played hard opponents. Now they're playing really strong, and they're starting to see better teams. This series, though, this doesn't account for the series I'm talking about now. Because the Milwaukee on the road, not that they've showed us much at home anyway. Most teams, it's, yeah, you could see the big-time difference on what they do at Citizens Bank Park compared to when they go to a different atmosphere. They haven't done diddly squat when they've been in front of their home fans. Let me get the exact numbers, too, before we head back to the phones here. Their home record at this point of the season is, I do not care about the American League, 15-15. If that doesn't scream Phillies baseball, I don't know what does. 13-14 on the road. It's so funny. You look, 28-29. The way we're talking about this squad, we feel that they're the New York Mets, right? 38-21. By the way, how about the Braves? Braves are on a nice run, too. They're 8-10 in their last, 8-2 in their last 10. When was their last loss here? They beat the A's 13-2. They beat the A's 3-2. They beat the Rockies 8-7. They beat the Rockies 6-2. They beat the Rockies 3-1. They beat the Rockies 13-6. They beat the Diamondbacks 6-0. May 31st, they lost in Arizona 8-7. So, of course, as soon as the Phillies seem to be doing something, the Atlanta Braves wake up as well. That just fits the mold of everything. But there's so much baseball left that all I can control right now, and realistically, all we can control ever is ourselves, is the Phillies. Other teams are going to do what they do. All I know is we had to dig ourselves out of slop and garbage. They're doing that. Locker rooms partying. A lot of smiles. They're finding ways to win, where all they did before was find ways to painfully lose. Control the controllable. Keep winning baseball games. Back to the phones we go. Hello. Welcome.
Hey, Broads. Hey, Phillies fans. I just want to say Phillies baseball is looking pretty good right now. I mean, you got to say that if you put up 7, 8, 9, 10 runs per game, I mean, it's pretty hard to lose those games, even with the bullpen that we have. But can we just talk about that Bryce bomb to dead center, hit the top of the scoreboard? I mean, can you believe the sound that made?
Yeah, and it came at such a crucial time, too, because you were up 2 runs. Connor Brogdon's in the game. He allows a home run. It's somewhat deflating. And then, boom, as soon as the Phillies get back up to the plate, your biggest leader, your NL MVP, your face of the franchise steps up and hits that missile. And you're right, the way that it made that noise off of that scoreboard, it was electric. But now you're back to a 2-run lead, and you pick up your brothers back. You have your teammates back. When things go bad, boom, there's not that Connor Brogdon was absolutely pitiful. I mean, he got crushed pretty quickly there on his first pitch, but just the way Bryce Harper responded, it really does define the way this team is playing right now.
And like you said, I think the key to this team winning during these stretches of the games is picking up our brothers. If someone's having a bad night, we need to pick them up. We need to hit a couple home runs, have some fun. And I think this team could, they can make a run. I really do think they could.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of baseball left, and I appreciate the time. I'm just living in the moment right now. It's June. I'm not going to go too far and start talking about this and that and what they could do, standings. And like I just mentioned the Atlanta Braves, but I talked about it. All you can do is win baseball games right now. There's a lot of baseball ahead of us, so I'm just living in the moment, and that's what a baseball season's all about. You can't think way too big picture with this, or you'll never enjoy the process. You'll never enjoy the baseball games, because if all you're thinking about is what happens at the end of September, right now when we're discussing games that are in June, I mean, you lose sight of what this is all about. We're supposed to have these 10-game runs where we lose our mind and we can't wait for the first pitch the next night. We're supposed to go through dreadful losses to these teams that we should beat. Hopefully, though, it doesn't happen against Miami. We can't overlook Arizona, but it will tell me a lot about the makeup of this team if we see what we are supposed to see against the Marlins. If they lose 2 of 3, if they go 0 for 3 and they get swept, I mean, it would just be devastating, because at the end of the year, we'll probably look back at the teams in your own division like Washington and Miami, and sometimes that makes the difference. If you go back to the Yankees last year and you think about some of their losses to their division, Baltimore Orioles and all that, and you look at how other teams who were above them played against the Baltimore Orioles, then you think about where that wild card situation was. It's night and day what happens there. So we know that that's been somewhat of a dysfunctional matchup. That is in a direction that we need to change the course. So let's take care of business against Arizona. At some point, you're going to drop a game, so let's take 2 of 3. I would love a sweep, but let's take 2 of 3, and we'll get to Miami when we get to Miami. It's just something that's on my future radar, my very close radar. We've seen the struggles. We've seen the battles. We've seen the ugliness against one specific uniform. Do not let it happen again. We'll take one more phone call here, and we'll hop to Amadeo. How you feeling, Amadeo?
I'm feeling good, and basically what you just described over that past monologue is the Phillies right now, they control their own destiny. They got to beat the teams that are ahead of them. They got to beat the teams that are coming up, the weaker teams, Arizona, Miami, even though they're the kryptonite. And you got a 5-game series against the Washington Nationals. Honestly, you could say this upcoming stretch, even though they've won 7 straight already, this is a really important stretch because you got weaker opponents, and you got to take advantage of that, when the schedule gets easier.
Definitely. You have to keep this momentum going. You can't let it flop. You can't let it go. And you can't do what some fans are waiting for, which is, they'll find themselves back to 500 at some point. You can't let that start lingering and start happening and have people start questioning. You had to keep up a certain pace of a win percentage to get you back into that 86 win stage. You started to create that buzz. Do not allow that to slip. That's my motto when looking at this team.
Exactly. And just going to today's ball game, with the way they approached Corbin Burns in this game, just the fact that, I wasn't, overly mad that they didn't score a bunch of runs, just because they got Corbin Burns over to 100 pitch count in, the 5th inning, and he didn't even go past the 5th inning. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, if you go up against other teams when they, try to keep that, even though that's not going to happen every single day, that's what baseball is, but if you can keep that same approach against other teams' best pitchers, you're going to be more successful than not in getting them out earlier in the ball game.
Yeah, you're right. It's a recipe for success. There's no denying that. And you're right. Most of the time when you see all those runners in scoring position, but they don't come across home plate, you're aggravated. Maybe you're biting your fist because you can't understand how you can't knock in those runs. But today's process, it might have not have landed what we wanted to at certain points, but that second inning, I mean, it was eye-opening to see the professionalism of their makeup, and that's what we were sold. So we were seeing exactly what we were told this team can do. And yeah, of course, you would love to see 4 runs, 5 runs, but with the way the game is played, you know, at times it won't happen. When you see such a stud pitcher on the other side, what you saw in that second inning, it goes a long way. So while in that moment they didn't score the runs, you were able to blow the game open later because of what you did in that second inning that mattered so much to Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, to Odubel Herrera, to these other guys who stepped up later on because of them having to dig into their bullpen and make certain decisions because of how much that they grinded you and forced you to throw. And some of it, too, was just, it looked like Corbin Burnes was out of his own mind. Right? I mean, location, missing spots. Same with Eflin. Eflin is mind-boggling to me because he's so sharp one day, and then there's the grind. And today we saw the grind. I need more out of 4 innings, for sure. And you could give him an acknowledgement of getting out of some really tough jams. And this is when it goes back to, you have your brother's back. Look at what that bullpen did today. Nelson, Brogdon, Dominguez in the 7th. And then the score somewhat separated a bit. But it matters that bullpen helped out when your starter only goes 4. Not good enough at Eflin, and we need to see more consistency. We know what the top of Zach Eflin's game is. Today wasn't it. Sometimes you're going to have those days. Can you win when your starter has that day? Luckily, it so happened that the other team's starter somewhat went through a very similar situation. So the Phillies made it work, and they win, and they sweep the Brewers. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. With that, I want to thank you guys so much. Thank you, Johnster, for the $5. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. It says here, let's all give Broads a round of applause for that, correct? Why is my screen is a little bit far away from me, and I'm trying to read it. Phillies are going to sweep earlier in the week. I did say that. I did say that they were going to sweep. I want to thank everybody so much for hanging out with me today. Thank you guys so much. You're the greatest. New to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up button as well. I greatly appreciate it. And SeatGeek, promo code Broads. TikTok, Broads Media. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll catch you on the next one.